am I?
Yep.
I don't know
Yes.
what to do that.
So it depends where the brackets are. If it's written like this, square first, then negative. If it's this, sorry, if it's this, negative. Alright, boys, we're going to do quadratics in polynomial form.
What? That sounds hard.
It sounds hard, it's not actually.
Sounds exciting.
Yes, I don't know why it's polynomial. This is polynomial form.
I don't understand.
Oh, this
No
is
one likes polynomial.
So it's just like
It's the least useful form. There's only one or two pieces of information you can read off it. Neither of them help really with the graph.
Well, that's exhilarating.
What pieces of information can you read off it?
the dilation and the ones.
The dilation and the y-intercept would work. Dilation, y-int. So when you come to graphing, you really only know one point on the graph and you know how narrow or fat it is. And that's about it. Yeah? Well, it's not useless. It's just not as helpful as other forms. So, we'll do a couple of examples. I'm going to graph this one. Right? Polynomial form. First of all, what's the y-intercept?
Negative 12.
Cool.
Yep. Dilation.
Swap a brain.
1.
1 means there's no widening or narrowing, it's just 1. Alright. How do I get the x-intercepts?
Make y equals 0. That's probably right.
Yeah, make y equals 0, but what's the... So I'll do that. So 0 equals x squared plus x minus 12. What do I have to do next? Nope.
Factor right.
What's the law I'm going to use to solve here?
The null.
Null factor law. So null, factor. So I have to factorize. What are they?
3.
3 and 4, which one's negative?
3.
Alright, because that's a positive. Plus 4 minus 3. Alright, null factor law says then that x equals what?
Plus 3.
3 or negative 4. X-intercepts. What else do I want to know when I graph things?
Turning point.
Turning point. How do I find the turning point?
You go halfway between both of them.
I can do that, can't I? Halfway between 3 and minus 4 is?
It's too tough. Not one. What do I do?
It's about
Something I want to work out.
negative 0.5.
Negative a half.
Yeah.
How do you find it?
Yeah.
So 3 plus minus 4 divided by 2 equals negative a half. Alright, so what has that shown me?
The axis of
The axis of symmetry is at negative a half. The axis of symmetry is also where the x coordinate of the turning point is, isn't it? Yeah?
Then you can substitute it.
So you can substitute it back into the equation and whatever the y value is, that will be the level of the turning point. So you found the x, now you need to find the y. So minus a half, we'll sub it back into squared plus, like so. Minus a half squared is quarter. Minus a half, minus 12 equals y. Who's good with their fractions? A quarter minus a half minus 12. Is that right?
Okay, so if you times it.
No, 12 and a quarter. Yep, and you convert it into a improper fraction. So now, turning point is it's not very much fun. There's a lot of work involved, isn't there? Yeah. All right. So, pieces of information we need to have to graph. Y-intercepts. X-intercepts. Turning point. dilation factor is helpful, but it's not something you can actually physically put onto the graph, is it? Alright, so now we've got 3 points we can put on there. Sorry, 4 points. Yeah? It's pretty straightforward. Does anyone know a different way of finding the turning point?
Completing the square. Using the calculator.
You could use the calculator. You could risk graph this and then analyse it. Anyone remember completing the square?
That's
Didn't we already do that?
No, haven't
No,
completed the square
not
yet.
in this.
Not in this example.
Yeah.
But completing the square actually transforms this equation into turning point form, which is written like this. Right, so this method here of finding the axis of symmetry, then plugging it back in and finding the turning point, you don't have to do. You could complete the square. So, this is what we start with. The coefficient of x is 1. 1 squared is 1. So it's going to be x squared plus x plus 1 minus 12 minus 1.
Wait, so we didn't have to do any of that? We just
Didn't have to do this, no. There's 2 ways of doing it.
I find that so much easier.
Oh, sorry. Halve it, square it. Now I'm not working very well here. That's better. Alright, so now your 2 factors are squared plus, what's that number there? Minus 49 over 4. Who would prefer that method?
Yeah.
3 lines to get to the same answer. Look, here's the turning point. Notice that it's the opposite of the h value because there's already a negative in there.
Yeah.
So it's alright. Also notice that I haven't actually finished completing the square. Alright, completing the square is a way to get to make it looking like this. So I'm allowed to stop halfway and just go, oh, that's turning point form, I'll leave it like that. Alright? So there are 2 ways to get the information you need. Right, I gave some people this last year. I'm going to give it to you again because lots of people forget the information they need to graph equations.
I remember that. That was one of the things I actually did.
You must know as many of these as possible before you put pen to paper and finish sketching your graph. I would put this at the top of a page somewhere, and then every time you go to graph something,
We have tried. She's gonna like hide there.
any questions about that?
So do we have to use the polynomial form?
Yeah, because you'll be given equations in this form. Alright, this is called general form. And a lot of the time they give you equations in that form because you can transform them quite easily into turning point form or factorized form. Alright? Via other methods. If they give it to you in this form, you have to go through the process of expanding back out and to transform it back. Alright? So, do you want to try one more?
Like, could you just like
No.
hypothetically just make anything into a turning point thing because you like graphing and turning point?
Yep. Yep.
Every other way is just turning point.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Do you guys remember how to finish completing the square? Past this point here? So if, like Hallie, you choose to operate in turning point form, you want to treat these 2 terms as a difference of perfect squares. So you take the square root of this and you jump it inside the brackets. So it's going to look like this. Minus 7 over 2 and x plus a half plus 7 over 2. Simplify those if you can, so you're going to end up with x minus 6 over 2 and x plus 8 over 2. Simplify those if you can, you end up with x minus 3 x plus 4, and what do you know?
Oh my god.
It's the same.
What was all that? Where did you pull that from?
So if you wanted to just go straight to, I'll convert to turning point form and then factorise, it gives you all the information you had over here.
Oh, it's just that.
Yeah?
So we don't have to do any of that ever. So why did we?
Because I find this easier.
Writing that.
How?
Because this example is a nice one because they have common denominators. When you're having surds in there,
Yeah,
It's not
I
gonna
can
be as
still
nice.
do that better than that. Because I've never seen that before.
there are multiple ways of doing everything. Alright? Key information here is that you need to you need to factorise to find the x-intercepts. You need to complete the square to find the turning point. Yeah?
What?
What did I just say?
I have no idea. I'll whack.
How do you find the x-intercepts?
I went to download it last night.
By doing that.
What's it called?
Factorizing.
Work. How do you find the turning point?
What?
You go halfway between each axis.
Factorise to find x-ints. Complete square to find TP. Yeah? Maybe?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you one more example just because people aren't awake yet. I won't run on this point. I'll run it again.
I'm actually wondering if you just say it like
Right.
12 years or something. You should just do it. And the guys, you know, comments out of the way, and there's like a railing you can sit on and watch it.
Right. Here's your parabola. I want you to get all the information you need. So I need x-intercepts,
I said no.
There's a ramp that goes down, just watching that.
x-ints,
Click.
y-int,
And I was just not
dilation factor, and turning point. Go. Boys,
You're
another example on the board. I want you to find all the information about that one there. Let's go. Go.
A calculator's off limits?
Someone on the wheelie board. On the wheelie board. On the wheelie board.
Well, me.
X squared plus 3x minus 10. Find me all the information.
But I haven't done it. But I don't know where I
Brain is not working.
Y-intercept, you can just read off the form. Sure you can.
Thank you.
Have you met me?
Yep. What's the y-intercept?
Thank you, Anna.
Good work. What's the relation? Y-intercept. Good. How do you find the factors? What's the special word we use to find the factors?
Do I have to do that?
You use that word, factors. Good work. Factorising. How do you factorise?
This.
Look back for your examples.
America is playing.
What is that? Yeah.
Cheat way.
Cheap way.
Cheat.
Cheap way.
Does it work?
All the time?
What's HG for?
This one factorises rather straightforwardly. Thirds.
Can you please just say that? Can you just say I'm hungry?
I'm not hungry though.
I'm hungry.
I'm starving.
I'm definitely hungry. What did you say?
I'm starving.
Need food, substantial food. I need brain food.
Same. Then I have to go to Melbourne. Then I have to look fancy food.
How did that make
Yeah, I have an industry there.
I don't.
Right. What does that, how does that make sense?
not. So can I just write down back?
Yeah. And
What?
Because I have one. Well, I can.
Three times three.
and then how do you write it down?
Micro distribution.
What would your next step be?
It's for vet. I like getting marks in it.
Yeah, is that -12?
So it goes like towards.
Do you ever get annoyed having to like try stuff?
That's my first ever multiple division. We didn't know we did this kind of stuff for that. So,
Is it positive now?
so we have 2 master's classes in the morning, and then we have a mock division. We have to do friends, so we have to bring in headshot and CV.
What do you turn DW? When you do 6 over 4?
Yeah.
Add with it.
And it's mock.
Yeah.
That one you wrote on my board there is
Yeah.
Disabled. Anything.
Oh, what does it call?
I'm so sorry.
I believe in its theory.
I believe I'm alive.
My hand won't even work properly.
Alright, so on the board, I've taken the liberty of working through completing the square to find the turning point, then finished off factorising by completing the square to find the x-intercept. Did I make any mistakes?
How do you get 49 over 4?
Which way did you go? Down to completing the square?
I have no idea what I did.
What did you get as your answer?
Non-factor.
So the null factor law doesn't.
Why do you write so much right? Yeah, just like you wrote 1 you wrote 100.
Yeah.
Oh,
One needed like to get
It's going to.
I know it's spelled. Did I? And then incoming.
He's written 100
Wait,
times.
what? How can I get that wrong?
Knew that.
Oh my god.
Oh no, he did a different one. You just like his last is just one so now you have to figure out
there's going to be a 3 there.
Yeah, look. 3x.
Oh, so wait, how do you step on it?
It multiplied by 3 first, then double.
So does it become a 9 over 2?
Yeah.
And then it becomes 18 over 4?
That's it.
And then it's still 9 over 4, right?
That's the 9 over 4, because there's no coefficient of x squared. So 18 over 4, take away 9 over 4 is
9 over 4.
9 over 4. Then you end up with what I have on the board there. 10 minus 9 over 4.
Okay.
Minus 10 minus 9 over 4. Yep.
Just think of like that.
Right. 2, 0. Let's put it here. Minus 5, 0 there. 0 minus 10 way down here. Turning point. Minus 1.5. What's that number?
Maybe we'll call that one.
Big brain.
Yeah, here. Isn't it? Terrible.
Yeah, I just wanted to know
No, I don't know.
what connection chaos. That was my question.
That is a shame.
Because the birdie.
Slightly better.
Yeah, points for trying.
Oh, thanks.
How dare you judge my graph and then draw one thing back?
I just like how last year I like couldn't do anything except for like graph the parabola if I had all the information, and you were like, oh yeah, nice graphing. And then everything else was like, yeah, okay, you need to work on literally everything.
It's a skill to be able to graph, isn't it?
Why is only part of it like dark blue
Should
and
find
the
these
rest
graphs.
being line?
Because I went over that part.
Yeah, because over the other part I made.
No.
You haven't read
Alright, at this point, can you see how all the skills we've been working on have come into this question? Yeah? So all those skills we've been doing previously, they're not just silly little skills that are standalone. Alright? Factorising is valuable for this. Completing the square is valuable for this. Alright? Graphing is valuable all the time. As Hallie pointed out, you need to make sure you label everything. Arrows on the ends of the lines. Alright? Points wherever there are points. Alright? All those skills we've been working on, by this set, I should be having discussions about what are we looking for when we factorise. Factors of this, that, to make that. At this point, I should be just talking to you about which numbers do you think go here and here. Alright? We shouldn't be having those discussions about how to factorise. Alright? Now, a few things you need to remember. You need to factorise to find the x-intercepts, or you can go through completing the square, which is a method of factorising. You need to complete the square to find the turning point. Right? This one here is a little cheat method. If you wanted to jump straight to the axis of symmetry and get down to this point here, you could use minus b over 2a. Now that's this coefficient here and this coefficient here. They tell you straight away what the x-coordinate of the turning point is going to be. Alright, so if you wanted to go through this method where you're reading the y-intercept, you're factorising by sight, and you're jumping straight and subbing the x-coordinate in, you can use this little thing here, minus b over 2a. Alright, you don't have to, because completing the square does do it all for you. Yes or no? Slightly different. Alright? Second thing, or last thing I want you to keep in mind is, you may not complete the square when there is a coefficient of x squared. You must first remove that coefficient by dividing all the terms by that coefficient.
So A.
For example, if you wanted to factorise this,
Divide them all by
So
3.
there's no
you have to divide them all by 3
So it would
first.
just be x
You
squared
cannot
plus a.
complete the square by jumping straight in and doing this. You have to first remove the common factor and then
I am so.
complete the square with the resulting answer. Yes? Yes. Solving always only means finding the x-intercepts, and I have no idea why we don't solve linear equations, because we don't. We only solve quadratics and above. I don't know why they just substituted out the word finding x-intercepts. Alright, so if you see the word solving, you are taking this step here. 0 equals. Alright? Any other questions?
I love that shit.
Alright, so practice 3E. Off you go.
Was that for F as well?
F. No, E.
No, that's stuff.
F. No, F. It was,
What
sorry,
are
it was
we
F.
doing? F or
F.
F?
F.
Okay.
Sorry, thank
I
you
was
for
going to say,
that.
I've written it down.
F. F.
Oh, I know, so